If you want to fix a problem with anxiety, one of the best ways to do it is to make it focused.
Perhaps you could explain, though, how it makes one happier
Yeah,
using these. Yeah.
for sure. I'll give you a specific example. So, a lot of young people today, a lot of people in general, but especially a lot of people in the 20s, all over the UK and the United States and many other countries around the world are experiencing a lot of anxiety, and they'll go to the doctor and the doctor will say you have some generalized anxiety disorder, for example. Now that's a problem in and of itself because we overdiagnose everything. We turn everything into you have it or you don't have it. And the truth of the matter is that everybody has some anxiety. We need to understand what anxiety is. It's unfocused fear. Fear is evolved in us as a primary negative emotion so that we will be averse to things that are dangerous. You hear a stick snap behind you out in the forest, and your first instinct is to run because that's how your brain was wired. That's a much better instinct than saying, oh, a twig snapped behind me. I bet that's my close friend. Everything is a threat until you actually know what it is. And that's what's kept you alive for, the last 500,000 years or so. So fear is something that's episodic with respect to the natural environment. Anxiety is an unfocused fear because we have so many sources of threats that we can't put our finger on. If you want to fix a problem with anxiety, one of the best ways to do it is to make it focused, is to focus your fear. So here's what I recommend to everybody. When you're feeling a lot of anxiety and you get that, that kind of that flightiness in the pit of your stomach, and you're feeling like, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep tonight. All the things that anxiety does to you. Get out a piece of paper and take out your favorite pencil and say, I'm going to write down the 10 things that are freaking me out right now. And what I think the reason they're freaking me out and the worst thing that can happen and something I can do about it for each one of those things. And by the end of those 10, there's still some things that are going to be freaking you out a little bit, but you will have focused the fear in your prefrontal cortex as opposed to having the unfocused anxiety that's bombarding you from the limbic system. And it's actually pretty interesting and sometimes even kind of fun. I do it myself all the time. When I'm feeling anxious, I make a list, and that's my prefrontal cortex at work.
And just going back to what you were saying about taking time, it's with everything when you're reacting to anything, negative comments are said about you, or something online, or an email that's made you angry, or someone says something to your face that makes you angry. Is it just about taking the time essentially to assess the situation and not going with your gut reaction and just learning to be slower and to process?
There's a lot of that. The beginning of all metacognition is putting space between what you feel and how you react, because your prefrontal cortex is slower than your limbic system. If a car is about to run over you in a crosswalk and you're walking through London, if you're an American in London, you're looking the wrong direction for oncoming cars all the time. Sooner or later, a London taxi cab is going to almost kill you. And when it crosses your visual cortex, it's processed by your brain as a large predator. That's how your brain sees it. That sends a signal to the amygdala of your limbic system that lights up and puts you on full alert. That sends a signal through to your pituitary gland, down to your adrenal glands above your kidneys, and that starts spitting out stress hormones. This happens in 74 milliseconds. It's extraordinary how fast this is. You'll jump out of the way. You'll be sweating. Your heart will be pounding. Maybe you'll make an obscene gesture to the cabbie. 3 seconds later, your prefrontal cortex catches up with you to understand what's happening. Meanwhile, your limbic system has saved your life. Your prefrontal cortex 3 seconds later will say, I shouldn't have made that obscene gesture to the cabbie because those aren't my values. So the whole point is, if you want your prefrontal cortex involved, you need to give it time. Here's a way that we can all do that. We feel angry a lot. You feel angry. Your grandmother probably told you, hey, Hannah, when you feel angry, count to 10 before you say anything. There's a lot of research on this. The truth is you should count to 30. And while you're doing that, envision yourself saying the thing that you want to say to the other person and bearing the responsibility for that. That's working everything into your prefrontal cortex. Takes about 30 seconds, to really process it. And then you will make a better decision. And what you're doing is you didn't choose the emotion, you chose the reaction. And choosing the reaction is something you really can have control over.